Attention. We are now at DEFCON 3. Security lockdown active. Level 2, War Room.
Good people and inhabitants of planet Earth, friends and allies alike, welcome to Endure Beyond, the one and only place on planet Earth where we present elite human practices, declassified strategies for you to outwin, outpace, outmaneuver, and dominate the competition, to ensure that the enemy cannot exploit your weaknesses to become stronger, faster, more intelligent, and to live a better life, formerly known as prosperity. Bienvenidos, yokoso, willkommen, ahlan bik dabro pajalavat, vitajre, and welcome to you all wherever you may originate. My name is Darius Riddick. I'm an American physiologist, and I'm your host and architect for this installment of Endure Beyond. Welcome in. We are rolling into the Elite Mind Operations Kit, and the mission dossier is we're getting deeper. So for those of you that may need some time to catch up, it's too late, because society is not slowing down and the enemy is not stopping. It is time now more than ever for you to master self, to understand the physiology of self, and to learn what it takes, what the elite, what the 0.001% do to make life the best it possibly can be. Not to become the victim, but to become the victor. And because America is the one and true superpower, in order to maintain a status of superiority, it's more important now than ever that we talk about these things, how to bring the people out of the trenches, how to bring them to new heights of professional and personal development for unmatched, unrivaled performance. And in episode 438, we're going to do just that by discussing cat, mouse, and mind. But a little bit of housekeeping. Subscriber-only bonus episodes are available for those that want to become a part of the private tribe to better yourself more than anyone else. Maybe you're hyper competitive. Maybe you need a little bit more stimulation. Maybe you're looking for something that's going to give you a competitive edge. That's where it happens. The information that's available here is definitely going to be a better return of investment than anything you could ever imagine. But trust me when I say you're not going to want to miss out on that. And 437 demonstrated what we are capable of and how we are starting this new season off right when we talk about mental armor and building cognitive endurance for the long war. The 2-part special, go back and check it out. Episode 438, Cat, Mouse, and Mind. Intelligence is the new weapon, ladies and gentlemen. We now live in the attention economy, where it is very easy to be manipulated. And we know that today's war is not just fought with bullets. That's the nature of modern psychological combat. It's waged through manipulation, perception, and fatigue. Physical fatigue, spiritual fatigue, and decision fatigue. And you're always in the crosshairs of someone's psychological strategy. And no one is safe from that. Presidential candidates, presidential positions, diplomats, secretaries, assistants, agents, leaders, business owners, employees, investors, men, women, children, gay, straight, black, white. It's now more than ever that it's now important more than ever that we share this level of intelligence with the American people to the best of our ability, because the enemy is looking for every single weakness to exploit. And as I've said before, there are millions of people every day who are losing the war simply because they fail to acknowledge that exists. Some don't know, then others refuse to accept the obvious. But I know that's not you. You won't believe that beautiful little lie that life's glorious, no one's doing anything, there aren't bad people, everybody's inherently good, and we can all live in harmony and things would be great. I'm sure that's not you, or you wouldn't be here. So the point of you being here is because you want to learn something that's going to make you better. And I'll ensure you that from cradle to grave, this information will do just that. I study these things to the very letter, to the very origin. When most people are eating, sleeping, or breathing, this is what I'm doing. I am studying the topic of human endurance and resistance optimization. Though my subject matter expertise is skeletal muscle, I look at all the pathways to prosperity. What can we do with the least amount of effort to generate the most amount of results to get to peak performance? And I believe that understanding the nature of modern psychological combat is where we'll really see the biggest shift in that, because the point of this is to create a fortress, okay, to help you fortify yourself to inoculate against psychological warfare. It's not something to be avoided, and it's not something that ends. There is no start and there is no end. It's a constant warfare. So if you understand that, then you know that your best possible chance is to inoculate yourself to it. How can you get better at it? And more importantly, how can you switch from reactive, proactive to use it to your advantage? And just some common examples. Do you ever find yourself feeling fatigued, going out, having to deal with people, different people's emotions, or someone does something and it pisses you off, it throws you off the rails, and you feel as though it just ruins your day, and it's like a cascade from there? That's just a micro example of psychological warfare. But if we can understand how we respond to those situations, if you can look at a situation that's stressful and say, I know how I respond to fear. I know how I respond to stress. I know how I respond when someone pisses me off. I know how I respond when I'm at lack of food, water, or sleep, or even when I'm feeling isolated or when I'm feeling a lack of love. If you know how you respond to those situations, then the enemy can't manipulate you. They can't use your fragile or weak emotions or weak state of mind against you. And that's the basis of psychological warfare. That's the most effective way to inoculate yourself against it. So the most powerful way to inoculate yourself against psychological warfare, the intangible war of the mind, the spirit, of the emotion, of the human system that is going on in today, is to understand the physiology of self. How do you respond to cataclysmic moments? When you are fearful, when you are stressed, when you are hungry, when you are lonely, when you are tired, and when your emotions are fluctuating. You may not be able to understand the emotion, but you can acknowledge it and make better decisions when you experience it. So it's about understanding the cat and mouse dynamic. Most intelligent operators and most highly effective people, especially those that are listening to this, understand that in high stakes operations, you are either setting the pace or you're reacting to it. You are either the cat or you are the mouse. You are the attacker or you are the defender. Now, the position you hold changes over time, of course, but the energy that's required to fulfill each position is different, and both take a different outcome. And this is really critical because the enemy knows this, and they're always testing for openings, right? There's emotional shifts, there's gaps in your composure, there's weak routines, which is why physiology itself is so important. Because if you're walking around angry, if you're walking around tired, but you don't really know why, the enemy can very likely exploit that. And this is what has happened to the American people for a very long time. Yes, we have had some piss poor leaders who have been given too much time, too much leverage, and too many resources that have also been almost as like double agents to exploit the American superpower. But it's up to the people who are originally established to be a self-governing body to understand how they maintain the true power. For the most part, I believe a government should be invisible until the people really need them most. So that means the only way the government can do that, or a governing body can do that, is if the people can show that they govern themselves. And the people can only show that they can govern themselves by understanding physiology of self. Because if you show that you can defend yourself and the enemy can't, even if they're testing for openings, they can't take your emotional shifts, they can't take your gaps in composure, or they can't break your weak routines, then you show the ability to self-govern. You show that you are capable to take on the responsibility, and the government then has no choice but to lessen their involvement in your activities, which is why being a sovereign person is one of the most effective things you can do. Now, understand that when I say sovereign, let's be realistic here. It's not denouncing your citizenship or pretending like you're not a part of the law, that you shouldn't follow the rules, that you should go through diplomacy or be a part of the republic or serve your country and your people to your utmost ability. The point is to say that how much can you do with the resources that you have without the involvement of other institutions or other governments? Are you able to understand your own emotions? Are you able to defend yourself? Are you able to understand how you effectively contribute to the entire machine, to the entire body? What does that actually look like? If you're completely maximizing out your capabilities and your abilities, and you have effectively established yourself as someone who is self-governing, and you can give yourself a round of applause. But it doesn't stop there. It's now, how can you then translate that to other people? How can you teach them? How can you educate them to do that themselves? Because by doing that, you don't just help you don't just help the community. You help the entire macro system. We then lessen the burden on the big system, and then we can divert those resources and funds to places where they are needed most. So inoculation is critical because you can't eliminate stress. One of the pitfalls of men and women in modern society, especially for the American people, is they've been brainwashed to think that stress is a bad thing. Stress is not bad for you. Stress is a stimulating factor both internally and externally. We have positive stress and we have negative stress. You have eustress and you have distress. Now, what is actually the true pitfall is not knowing that it's the inability to manage stress over a long period of time is what leads to disease. It would lead to fatigue, and it's what leads to psychological weakness. So if you can understand first how you respond to stress, what the origin of the stress is, you can then understand how to better manage it, and then how to better manage it over a long period of time, because the more stress that you can handle, the more success that you can get. So you can't eliminate stress, but you can train the mind to respond with precision, not panic. And we know that if an individual is trained to not be reactive and to be proactive, to be decisive, to analyze information, to observe the different pathways and to act on a decision, we know we have made an effective, intelligent leader. And that's just the short version of it. That entire process from cradle to grave takes sacrifice, it takes discipline, and it takes repetitions over and over and over and over again. And there's two forms of reps. One, repeatable, efficient, predictable systems. Putting systems in place that enable you to do something over a sustained or prolonged period of time. That's one of the critical defense mechanisms of the law of attrition. Attrition is going to happen either way, but what can you do to ward it off? What can you do to say, hey, go find somebody else because I don't want you here. And then secondly, the actual version of repetition, which is just doing something over and over and over again, because we know that you fall to your level of training. So what you do over and over and over again is what you become. Whether you are a habitual reactor or a habitual decider, you become what you do over and over and over again. So in part 2, we're going to discuss what's called elite response shaping protocols. And elite response shaping protocols are ways to effectively inoculate yourself to potential situations and put yourself through mock drills so that when these situations happen in the real world, say that there's enemies testing a weakness, or maybe someone's having a bad day, you don't necessarily want to respond in a way where you're going to have to choke them out and throw them off a bridge, right? Because there's consequences to that. And you want to be an effective leader. So these get you prepared for that. Now, it's not going to prepare you for everything, but it's going to help you understand the physiology of self. And like I said, if you understand the physiology of self, if you understand how you react to situations in emotional states, how you react in hyper-competitive environments, then you have a much better chance of making better decisions when it matters most. And those 4 elite response shaping protocols are going to be scenario simulation drills, preloaded narratives, tension cycles, and input control, which we'll talk a lot more in part 2. So here's the deal. It's not just enough to say like, okay, well, I'm aware of this. I don't need to do anything. That's about it for me. It's more important now to be proactive and to put systems and things in place that are going to allow you to be better at this process. And if you fail to realize that it's a game of cat, mouse, and mind, with the mind being the cheese, the mouse trying to get to the cheese, and the cat trying to get to the mouse, then you will lose. Okay, that's just the point blank period. And it's now more than ever as American people that we step up and say, look, something's got to change. And we're seeing that happen at the macro level. We're seeing great leaders finally do what needs to be done to lessen the strain of the government, right? To have a smaller, more effective governing body. But that change doesn't just stop with them. Every single person can be a hero in their own life. Every single citizen can be a change agent. In fact, that's how it's designed to be. But you have to take that responsibility and remember that intel without action is dead weight. Understand noise versus signal, and information without action is useless. My name is Darius Riddick. Thanks for trusting me during this time. Until next time when we talk in part 2, best of luck to you all. Stay dangerous, my friends.